So, favorite in promotion right now?
Warriors Cup.
Okay. Favorite fighter?
Samat Karun.
Okay. Favorite fight?
Favorite fight, maybe not fight, but fights, the whole Koban versus Deckers kind of series.
That pretty classic golden era stuff?
Yeah, it was great, yeah.
Okay, underrated type of training?
In the States, it's always going to be clinch. I think we don't clinch enough in the States, but yeah, clinch.
Okay. Favorite Thai food?
Bagra Pao.
With the egg?
Yeah, with the egg, Kai Dao.
Kai Dao. A piece of advice for new fighters getting into the game?
Just grind. Train as much as you can every single day. Trust the process. There's no special technique or anything. It's just like hard work every single day. Yeah.
I mean, in my experience, that's what basically every successful person.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody, they all have that, solid work ethic every single day, showing up to the job and learning that way.
Yeah. So you've been in the fight game for a long time. You started in Tae Kwon Do, right, when you were a kid?
Yeah, when I was like 4 or something like that. Around that time, I was doing like Tae Kwon Do all the way up until my early teenage years. And around that time, I got involved in some Kruvut Kamnark came around and actually did some seminars, and I did like a Muay Thai seminar. I was watching a kickboxer movie back then, so I was really psyched on training, and I just kind of got really like obsessed with Muay Thai and less Tae Kwon Do. And like I had one point, where I had 2 choices in my life, and it was either kind of go to Colorado Springs and train for the actual Olympic Tae Kwon Do team, or just kind of pursue this new thing, Muay Thai. And my parents were really cool, and they just let me choose, and I was just off to the races. I've just been doing Muay Thai ever since.
And you had a pretty substantial pro career as well. You had like 30-40 pro fights?
Oh, yeah, 30-40 pro fights, not too bad. WBC National Champion, WBC International Challenge Champion, Lion Fight North American Champion. At one point I was in, I believe it was ranked number 1 or 2 at my weight in the WBC World Rankings also.
That's pretty good, especially, for your size and for the time period.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the time period back then, it was definitely a lot slower, and there wasn't as much action as there is now. But yeah, I feel pretty happy about what I was able to accomplish with what we had back then.
Yeah, I think you should be proud. You did a lot, but it's true.
No, I know. Thank you. Yes.
When I talk to current people now, I'm like, oh, I had like 15 smokers, 15 amateurs, fought out here 16 times. They're like, wow, you fought a lot. I'm like, you don't even know how hard it is to like get fights in America. Like, I'm 43, you're 39?
Yeah, I'm 42.
You're 42. So, you think in the last 5 years, even 6-7 years, it's exploded tremendously.
Absolutely. I mean, every weekend there's a show in the Northeast that you could probably find, and also Maryland with the MTAC. I mean, it's really exploding, and it's great. Everybody has a ton of opportunities, but definitely back in the early 2000s, late 90s, even when I started, it was very bleak, and it was just coming around. And, if you had a productive year, you would have like maybe 3 fights or something like that. That all stuck. Sometimes you would show up, you wouldn't have a fight. But nowadays it's just like through the roof. You have all these options to travel, options to fight in town, especially on the East Coast. Yeah.
And you've actually brought people to Max Muay Thai from America.
Sure.
You've had your students fight around. You've traveled a lot. What is that experience like? I
think like one of the biggest things about my career that I really enjoyed was I was able to use Muay Thai to travel and have these experiences. And I was able to fight for a WBC world title in England. I fought in Canada, Barbados, all over the place. And I think that's a big part of it. We don't get a ton of money, but traveling and being able to do what you love is pretty dope.
Yeah, it's cool. What do you like about the traveling?
I just, I like meeting new people, spending time on the beach, hopefully, places like that, just checking out something new, something different. I live in New York City, so I have a lot to offer there already, but it's really nice to get out of the city and, just get somewhere else for, 4 days for a fight or maybe 2 weeks for a training camp.
And one of the reasons why you're here right now in Hawaii is for a training camp. You've been running them for a long time, right?
Yeah, so every year I usually do like a yearly trip with my students now, but in the past, I've brought other people out to Thailand and just kind of did like a 2-week training, kind of vacation, whatever you really want to make of it. But, every year I've been coming out to Hawaii right on that shoulder season right about now. For the last 2 weeks we've been here training.
Yeah, right between like the end of rainy season, beginning of tourist season. Yeah. Why do you think this time period is so good, or why? Because you basically come at the same time every year.
I like it just because it's a nice way to end our year, and also the shoulder season here in Hawaii is it's not too crazy. It's not high season yet, but in about 2 or 3 weeks this place will be really, really busy. So it's nice. We come in and sometimes you hit the weather perfect, and sometimes like this year the rain season actually seems like it's a little longer than normal. And our first week we had some spotty weather, but our whole second week of training we had great weather. So
if you like this conversation with Brett, who has been in the game for over 20 years, you will probably like my new book, Muay Thai, The Complete Insider's Guide to Training, Fighting, and Business. You can get it off of Amazon. Go get it today. Now let's get back to the interview. And you've been to different places with the teams and training camps. You've been to Bangkok with Coaliton.
Yes.
And then also here, I think, did you ever bring people to Simbi?
I've always, it wasn't an official camp, but I've always, when I come out here, I brought a couple people. So I've had a couple trips that I brought probably like 7 or 8 friends. We did Simbi. I was training at Simbi for a while every time I came out here, and then recently our good friend Brian Dobler opened up a gym out here, and we've been just having the camp here every year in Hawaii.
And because you've been around for so long, like you were at the WA in New York City for a while. Yep. You obviously Rose Muay Thai at the dojo, the gym in Bangkok, Simbi, Phuket Muay Thai. What makes for a good gym, and because obviously you're looking at all these gyms and bringing some of that information back with you. What do you think makes for a good gym and experience for
good gym? Good management and good leadership. There's gyms on every corner. Especially in Thailand when you come out here, and in Phuket. And it's good leadership and good management. If they can run a good business and they have the great trainers and all that, and it's all in place, that's what we're looking for. Stability. Every day you show up, they're there, we're working, And
what about, how does that translate into America?
A lot of my fighters, they get to come out here and actually they get to kind of, try and do like that 2-a-day Thai training style. So they get to kind of come out here and push their conditioning, see what it is for 2 weeks to train twice a day if they want, or they can do whatever they want. But I mean, it's really just an experience, and everybody has different goals when they come out here. I have some people came out here to lose some weight and, just starting their journey in Muay Thai. And I have some people that are training for their fights, coming up in the next month or so on Warriors Cup. So everybody has their different goals, but, we're all trying to get, whatever it is out of it. We all have separate goals, yeah.
How do you manage that? What is that like? Because you have some weight loss people, some,
It's not too bad because honestly, one thing that Brian Dobler at Phuket Muay Thai does is they really do have a nice class structure. Everything's run on time. It's nice to have structure. Sometimes you can go to Thai gyms and there's really no structure, and if you're not, training for a fight or you are a fighter, you kind of get lost in that shuffle. Phuket Muay Thai, they have very structured classes. They have a beginner class, and then they have a more intermediate and fighter type class. So it's nice that they have that broken up. It's very easy to see where everyone's at.
And do you do the same thing for your program in the States?
It's a little tougher. So, everything in the States is a lot, shorter. We don't have 3 hours twice a day to work. We all have 9 to 5 jobs, but we do try to have our structured schedules, with beginner classes, intermediate classes, sparring, and stuff like that.
And you said, or you mentioned that some people are prepping for fights back in New York. What's going on with that?
Well, we just have, we always have a couple people that are looking for fights right now. And to end the year out, we have 2 or 3 fighters on the list for Warriors Cup. And hopefully we can crank out that. And then we're going to start out the new year, maybe get to Texas. There's a bunch of shows coming up.
Yeah, Coalition Muay Thai.
I was just going to say, yeah, Coalition,
yeah.
which is like another great opportunity. They're doing great things. They're bringing out fighters from the East Coast, from the West Coast, all over the place. You know, they're really trying to showcase it and, you know, give the professionals a nice platform.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that because you did a little commentating, which I think is interesting. But let's go back and talk about Warriors Cup a little bit, because obviously they're a long-running show in the States, in New York. You've known these guys for
forever, yeah.
Decades.
Yes,
at least 2 decades.
Their actual first WBC Full Rules Muay Thai show was in New Jersey. I was on the undercard of that show, and also the main event was Liam Harrison. So I mean, since
when he fought Justin.
Yes,
that was for a WBC title.
That was for a WBC international title, I believe. But I mean, even back then, they were flying in some of the best talent, trying to make some of the best matches. I know Ogden Topic was on that fight. It was a lot of people on those cards, and they've been doing it forever, stacking local talent and, you know, really giving us a platform.
What do you think makes them successful, and what do you think makes for a successful promotion?
Consistency. Like every month and a half, they have another show. You see a lot of people come in to the promoting business, and you know, they want to throw a big show and spend a lot of money, and you know, you only see them around for 2 or 3 shows. These guys have been around consistently for forever. I mean, it was before Warriors Cup was going on. We also had Friday night fights in New York City, and that's who James and Eddie used to matchmake, and then they actually started working with Chris, and that became 3 pillars. But it's just consistency, like consistently putting on shows, consistently paying fighters, consistently, you know, holding your end of the deal.
And then because of that consistency, what do you think has happened?
Well, I think it's great just to see how many titles they do. I mean, you could see it, you know, if you scroll on their page, they have title fight after title fight after title fight, WBC World title fights, WBC National, WBC, you know, Regional. You know, they're just trying to give all these fighters opportunities.
And speaking of opportunity, you had the opportunity to do some commentating in the last year or 2.
Yeah.
You did a show in like Philadelphia, right? In Pittsburgh? Sort of can't remember where it was. It was somewhere on the East Coast. You did one.
Maybe a while ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, a while ago. You know, maybe I did some small commentating gigs here and there on some smaller shows. But recently, I got to step up and work with the guys at Coalition, and eventually you. But the first Coalition show I worked was their wild card show earlier this year with Eddie, and it was great. You know, it was fun.
Yeah, what do you like about it? I mean, because you watch so much sports, so much Muay Thai, you know, do you think the commentary is important? And if so, why and how?
Yeah, it's absolutely important, you know, to educate people on some things and also entertain and kind of explain what's going on. And then I think it's a great job for any, you know, fighters that are, you know, looking to get involved outside of the ring. Commentating's great. I mean, we fight all the time. We watch fights all the time. It's almost like a second nature thing if you can just kind of get in that groove. And
you said educating, because I am over here all the time. I don't necessarily connect with a lot of the Americans. What do you think now they don't know that much about? I know you mentioned like in training they don't clinch, but do they understand like what they're looking at when they're watching clinching? Do they understand the scoring? You know, before these were major problems, but
you know, they were major problems, but I do feel like we definitely made some headway. And you know, right now USA Muay Thai is the best it's ever been. You know, even just, you know, going to the games last year and seeing, you know, the team do really well. I don't think it's too much. I just think it's one of our problems is we have so many different organizations and they all have different rule sets, and not everybody is on the same page. So you can fight one weekend under these rules with this organization, next weekend it's different over here, scoring slightly different. So we just need a little more consistency, and across the board we need everybody to be on one rule set and one scoring criteria.
And you obviously like the WBC a lot,
yeah.
Former champion.
Sure.
WBC Northeast Director, what's your title?
So I'm a world representative from New York City for world headquarters, which you deal with, and then also for WBC Muay Thai USA, I'm the Northeast Director. So I'm kind of in control of everything that goes on up there. We have a couple different promotions we're working with in New York, Boston, you know.
Yeah, can you tell me about that? What promotions are you working for? What does it all look like?
Well, I don't work for a specific promotion. I'm actually just working in the area, so mostly supervising fights in our two promotions in our area right now, Warriors Cup, and then in Boston area we have No Boundaries, who we are working on developing. And also in these areas we're also having, you know, some MDLs, developing talent, but you know, it's very grassroots and we're building it up.
What does supervisors do?
Basically, we're the eyes for the WBC headquarters. We want to make sure the fight goes off to our standards. Paperwork is signed, 30-day weigh-in, 14-day weigh-in, 7-day weigh-in. They show up to the fights, they actually fight. You know, it's our job to make sure that fight goes off for the WBC.
And what fights have you supervised? You probably did Chip versus...
I was not there for that one. I was in Italy with us for the World Games. I got to actually, recently I supervised an international fight in Puerto Rico, and then I actually got to go back and supervise the world title fight. So that was big for me, being able to supervise for a world title fight, running the master scorecard and all that stuff. It was really awesome. That was in Puerto Rico. That was Rose Muay Thai and Angela Whitley.
Why was it so cool?
It's just cool to be on that other side. I mean, growing up, you know, we don't have too many big titles established in Muay Thai in the United States or outside of Thailand besides those stadium titles, but WBC is the one that we have. I mean, and I've always, like, ever since, you know, back when we were talking about Liam Harrison on that main card in Warriors Cup, I just always had a goal. I wanted to get that green belt. Everybody wants the green belt. Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, in the nuts and bolts of it, what's the job entail? Like, you said you keep track of the weigh-ins. Is there other things that you do?
So yeah, I actually run the master scorecard in Puerto Rico. You know, all the judges, they give in their scorecards. I have to run the master scorecard and the final tally. I work with the referees. If there's any shoddy calls, I just have to make sure everything's going according.
Is it that difficult, or what's the sort of feeling like behind it?
It's fun. I don't think it's too difficult. I mean, I'm just doing my job, and you know, I've been doing this for years, sitting at fights, so I know what works, you know, what isn't working, and things like that, and how to get things done. And you know, probably the biggest challenge is maybe getting some paperwork the day of, because when you're dealing with fighters, they can be a little crazy. But me being a fighter, I kind of understand, so I really try to get all that done early as possible, so they could be by themselves with their team.
And you have taken fighters around the world. You definitely know the fighter experience, having fought yourself around the world. Where did I see you last? The Pan Ams in Mexico, or was it in Italy?
Italy, yeah.
So, you know, what was that experience like? What's, you know, taking, because what, you went to Venice?
Yes, we went to Verona.
Verona?
Yeah.
Did you go to the Venice one before that?
No, the year before was in Bangkok, which we did the World Games Bangkok. Yeah, so that was amazing. We had the finals in Lumpini Stadium. That was a really, really good trip. And then earlier in the year after that, we had our Pan Ams, which was in Mexico, and then we moved up, and then this summer was Italy in Verona. It was amazing. It's just, you know, Bangkok was awesome, but it was great to do it in Verona, and it was nice to meet a whole bunch of new people and see familiar faces, and you know, be able to compete with the best.
Yeah, I mean, tell me a little bit about the coaching and cornering aspect, and then maybe meeting new people.
It's great, actually, because I mean, a lot of these fighters are already established, so it's kind of like showing up and you get this nice, like, finished product that you can really just kind of have a very good game plan. You kind of get on the same wavelength, and there's not too much, you know, these coaches that show up with their fighters are, you know, they're already have them, you know, ready to go.
So who did you corner recently in Italy?
I got to corner Zach Stoll and a bunch of guys from Campanella's. I got to corner and work with the guys from North Jersey Muay Thai, Stephen Lobiando and all those boys over there. And they did great. He was a silver medalist. Highly controversial final fight, but it was a really good fight. He represented. He's one of our national champions, so it was really awesome to see somebody from the East Coast, you know, come out and have a very good showing.
Do you feel like cornering and instructing them at these tournaments is different than maybe Warriors Cup or other experiences?
Yeah, you know, the whole tournament atmosphere is different. You know, scoring's a little different. You know, you have some pads that gear that you're working with. So things are slightly different, slightly faster paced, 3-round fights. So, you know, it all depends, but, you know, it's still coaching.
Yeah. So I guess then what is your coaching style? How do you coach?
It's very, like, I'm very particular, like, just accurate shots, setting up stuff, and honestly, it's just, you know, after the first minute or a minute and a half, then we actually formulate that game plan. You know, every fighter is different. You can have a game plan for this fighter, but when this fighter shows up and you've been working on this, it's a mess, but, like, you just got to get in there and mix it up, and we just make those adjustments on the fly. I'm really good at reading fighters and seeing things and making the adjustments in that second, third round.
How do you do that? What do you say to the fighters in the corner? That
I mean, it's just me seeing things and, you know, losing my voice probably a couple times from shouting so much. But I mean, you know, I have to see it, and then I got to communicate to them, whether it's in between rounds or, you know, we have things that we're looking for too.
Is there a particular way you phrase things or communicate that makes it easier?
I mean, we started to play around with a little, like, code words and stuff like that, but honestly, no, it's still just, you know, kick, you know, throw that hand, like, we're just talking. It's so funny though, you know, I've been doing it for years, and I remember being in the corner and my coach screaming, you know, throw right cross, right cross, right cross, and you're like, but everybody's hearing it, but you just got to do it and throw it and commit, and, you know, that's part of the coaching process.
You know, also part of the coaching process is bringing up new talent at your own gym. Can you tell me about your own fight team? You have a pretty substantial program out of your gym, Rose Muay Thai. It's like 70, 100 people, and you have like a dozen fighters? Yeah,
we have you know, a couple established fighters. We actually brought one to Italy, our one fighter, Amy.
She won, right? Or how?
No, she lost. She had a very tough fight. She did well in the Pan Am. She took a silver in Pan Ams, and then we went to the World, and next year we hope to do the whole thing over again and, you know, just learn from our mistakes. We have a bunch of younger fighters that are coming up through the Muay Thai Development League, doing some local exhibition fights, and you know, by next year I really feel like we're gonna be busy again.
And what is it like seeing them develop versus like your career? Like, what do you think are some of the differences, and what can you apply?
They can develop much quicker because they have every opportunity, you know, under the sun to fight every weekend, and, you know, get these exhibition fights in. So I believe, you know, development is much quicker. Maybe back then, you know, you were thinking, oh, you got to train a couple years from your first fight, but like I'm seeing people who, you know, train for 6 months and they're ready to, you know, get that first fight or get a smoker or MDL or something like that. It just seems like people are developing much quicker.
Why do you think do you think it's just the fights that's helping them develop?
I mean, we have much more opportunities to learn from guys like you, or, you know, social media, YouTube. We can interact and talk to coaches around the world and share stuff. Back then when I was learning, we were trading tapes from old One Song Chai, like videotapes. It was a whole underground networking thing of trading tapes on like forums and stuff to watch, you know, Thai fights. But now you can just log on, you can see what happened last week in Raja, you can see all that stuff, and you can watch it live, you can talk to people.
Do you communicate with other coaches in the area, or
yeah, absolutely. You know, I have a really good relationship with Mike Campanella. You know, we just, you know, back and forth, we'll work with each other. Whether I come up there, he'll come to us and do seminars, or we have like good sparring partners with each other. But yeah.
What is it like mixing the gyms then?
It's nice. I mean, it's good to, you know, be working with your fighters and then being able to take them to another gym and, you know, give them some good sparring with somebody that they don't know, because, right, some of us are working on the same stuff and we're trying it on each other, and if it's in the gym, it's not working, but then you go and you bring it to somebody who's not expecting that, or, you know, you're sparring, you don't know this person, and it works, it's good, and you need that.
And I've also noticed lately on this trip, you're training yourself. Do you still like it?
Yeah, I
absolutely. It's like been 20 years.
Yeah, I love it, but this trip, me hitting pads was the first time I hit pads since my last trip. So I really don't get too much time. I haven't been training much. I'm just literally teaching and doing my private lessons and holding pads all day. But this last 2 weeks has been really fun, getting some work in and just hitting pads. It's really nice.
And one of the other things I wanted to talk about was during your career, you were pretty good at selling tickets.
Yeah.
Why do you think you were good at it? What helped you? Because, even though I'm on social media a lot, you were not. But you were still able to sell tickets. And, well, I obviously am like, do lots of social media.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it's important all the time.
Sure.
If you're able to do the selling already.
Sure. I mean, it all started, gathering a following in my gym, and then it all started gathering a following in the crowd at the fight that saw me fight last time. I just had a lot of support, and I just have been able to keep it and try to stay, in communication with people, and I don't know, I have a lot of supporters. It's just, I don't know.
So you're charismatic?
Yeah, I think so, for sure, right? Yeah.
Why do you think it's not your charismatic nature?
No, it could be. No, I think it is. I mean, but I just...
Do you find that it's the same for the other fighters at the gym? Like they're able to sell a lot of tickets? Or
it's getting there. We have a solid crew. I mean, I was, able to get 28 of my students to uproot their life for 2 weeks and come here. And so, I mean, it's happening here at the gym, and yeah, absolutely. We're all supporting each other too, and it's a big thing, one person fights, everybody shows up, the deal. And it's our job to sell tickets and keep the promotion, being able to book us. I mean, we're all working together.
Yeah, because one of the things I remember about you when you talked about your career was how important it was to get the tickets sold.
Sure.
Whereas other fighters, for example, line fight.
Sure.
You had buses of people go out.
Absolutely. So yeah, I would
because of that, you didn't have money problems.
No, yeah. I mean, I did actually quite well. But I had my New York audience, and, there was a lion fight, and it was in Connecticut, which is almost 3 hours away. And I just rented a bus, and I charged X amount of money, and I filled the buses, and I was able to sell almost 60 tickets being, 3 hours away. So that really helps you. It helps you with booking. It helps you with all the things,
So obviously we talked a lot already. Is there other stuff that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to?
I mean, I'm just actually excited. I'm going to see you in about 2 weeks at the convention at the end of the year for the WBC Boxing and Muay Thai convention. And I'm just psyched on that. I mean, that's going to be really fun.
So you are actually helping out with the USA team?
So there's going to be a small 2-day tournament, and then there's also going to be a night of super fights where they're going to have, world title boxing, world title Muay Thai fights. It's going to be amazing to see boxing and Muay Thai WBC in the same place. I'm going to be surrounded by guys that, I grew up watching boxing, all that stuff. So it'd be awesome.
Are you excited to see anyone in particular? Terrence Crawford,
Mickey Ward.
I'm excited for Roberto Duran.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
I want to take a photo of him.
Absolutely, it's really cool to see boxing and Muay Thai working like that. Yeah.
So wrapping things up, if there was one piece of wisdom to tell maybe your younger self, your 20-year-old self. What do you think it would be?
Stay the course. Don't get ahead of yourself. Stay in the gym. Consistency.
You heard it here.
Yeah.
And if people want to follow along with you or sign up for your gym?
You can follow Rose Muay Thai. It's on Instagram. We are located inside the Dojo NYC. They have Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, and wrestling. So you can find us all there.
And your personal Instagram?
Brett X Threat.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, bud.